They call it America's National Park of Speed, and the blasts through the trees here in Elkhart Lake definitely make it feel like it. But with little room for error in many places, this will not be a walk in the park. So pick a good spot to camp out and get ready for the PCA Sim Racing Series 13 Pro Class. And you'll see it all live here on RaceSpotTV. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Ewan O'Leary. Behind the scenes, of course, is our director, Ramiro Cisneros. We're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. PCA is also proud to announce that they're celebrating their 70th anniversary in 2025. Here's to many more decades with North America's largest Porsche enthusiast group. Well, now we're on the sort of downward swing, if you will, Ewan, of the schedule. We're past halfway.
We certainly are, and the variations keep on coming now to the National Park of Speed, as you say. It's Road America, a step away from the Grand Prix circuits, really, that we're seeing in 3 out of these final 4 rounds. But I think this does have a few similarities with Silverstone. In terms of its high-speed nature in places, there's obviously a lot less runoff here at Road America compared to Silverstone, but I feel like the high-speed nature is similar, and it's a real turn from the Hungaroring and Imola that are going to end off our season. That feels much more like what we had in season 12, actually, those 2 tracks. Much more twisty and harder to overtake, those last 2.
Well, speaking of the last few races, so we've got a first, a second, and a first, adding up to 1,020 points for Bryce Rodriguez. In fact, his drop race is also a second-place finish. He's been mighty this season. So Robbie Prescott is going to have his work cut out for him, but he was quickest in practice. So it looks like he might have an opportunity today if he can keep that speed up. Kerry Brooks not too far behind from Robbie, about 50 points back as well. And then only 20 points down to Justin Sang for that 3rd spot on the title run here. So should be fun up at the top as we now take a look at our clean driver standings. Bryce Rodriguez and Chris Pies tied on only 3 incidents. Now they do get 1 drop round for these as well. Even still, considering that we're this deep into the season, that's super impressive. They only have 3 of them, counting Dickie Chan at 5, Chad Henson at 6, and then it starts to pick up from there. This is definitely one of the things the drivers do try and vie for, but it shows you that even the fast drivers are eligible out here, and often fast is clean, even in iRacing. But real quick, since we're at a new track, do you want to take us through a bit about this circuit here, Ewan?
Yes, as I mentioned, quite high speed around here in places, some big braking zones as well. It feels to me as if this circuit in places is a bit start as well, to be honest, and there's a lot of, go down a straight, then go through a 90-degree corner after a pretty deep braking zone. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot to it sometimes. There are some actual technical sections to get into, especially with the final part of the lap. Those final few corners are actually a bit more nice and flowing, but a lot of this circuit is accelerate to go down a straight, brake into a 90-degree corner, and then accelerate again. It's very repetitive in that sense. It does help with racing, though, that repetitiveness, I think, and the long braking zones as well, especially down in towards turn 5, certainly help. So there's plenty to be excited about here. And indeed, we're getting up towards the business end of the season anyway, so it is going to be interesting regardless, and especially considering Bryce Rodriguez's practice time. You mentioned Robbie Prescott being up towards the top, but Rodriguez wasn't really anywhere near it in practice, but he's clearly got his act together ready for qualifying early on here.
Just got a few times in now, as it does take a while to get around here. I wonder if this is going to be another track where it'll be difficult to get that 3rd lap in unless you've really gotten out ASAP onto the circuit out of pit lane. Over 2 minutes to circulate this place. Jesse Lyon, though, is the quickest right now. Rodriguez second behind him by less than a tenth of a second. In fact, wow, top 3 split by 0.08 of a second between them over a 4-mile lap. This is honestly impressive.
Yeah, that is pretty remarkable over to. Yeah, I thought. Sorry, I just completely distracted there by Trzaskowski, who I thought I was just seeing things, but he is actually missing his front end, and he's carrying on. Anyway, yeah, it is really impressive over a lap like this. And to be honest, even look a bit deeper than that, it gets even more impressive. Wang is within 0.3 of a second off pole, but down in 6th place, half a second covers the top 8. So it's very impressive down the field. And we're going to see plenty more. And indeed, it's even closer now. Nicky Chan moves up to 5th place in the 000. Remarkable qualifying session so far. Has anybody got that little bit of an edge here in this last lap to just jump over the rest of them and to just get a bit further ahead, put their nose out front and take pole position here? Because it isn't going to take a whole lot to actually take the pole position around here.
Looked like Chan had an off track there, so I think he's going to abandon that one. His teammate Kerry Brooks will carry on in the 177, who's just ahead of him by 0.06 of a second as well. We're going to hop on board to show you what it's like through the kettle bottoms. This is what I was talking about, trees on either side of you. And let me tell you, it is loud here when you are here in person waiting along this section of the track, because they do have a viewing road now that you can walk along, a viewing trail to the right-hand side there, all the way down to this corner, Canada corner, and then up and out of the trees finally and towards the start-finish line. You know, the other thing that definitely differs from Silverstone to here is there is so much elevation. Really, the sim doesn't do it justice, I can tell you, Ewan. It's a lot of up and down huge hills here.
I'm presuming you've been.
Yes.
By the,
yes.
A lot of local knowledge, but yeah, it's always a thing that we talk about actually in sim racing. It's not really a dig against iRacing at all. It's just not really possible to make a computer screen not flat. Or you get what I mean? Not quite in the right way. Anyway, I don't know the technical word for it, but you know what I mean. It can't quite take on the perception of up and down quite as much as you can see in real life. But yeah, maybe it is an under-talked about thing around this circuit, because we don't often see this circuit as an elevation change circuit, but there are definitely places. There's a dip downhill after the first corner, a pretty steep downhill towards turn 5, which makes it a very long braking zone. And then a plunge back uphill again into left-hander at 6, and then back down the other side. It happens again and again and again, less so through this bit, but you do plunge up back towards the line again through the very end of the lap. So, yeah, we don't speak about this as being a really undulating circuit, but maybe we should do. I don't know why it's not as obvious to us all, but it's not the first one that comes to mind, even though, it probably is true. It is an up-and-down circuit.
It definitely is. Yeah, the rise up to the start-finish straight is a pretty steep hill that we just saw Eric Sutton complete his final lap, but he stays in 24th. And with the last few seconds ticking down, that is going to be it for our grid. It has been set, but it's not Prescott at the quickest, interestingly. It was close, though. So I'm sure it could have just been the smallest of difference on his lap, but he could have been where Jesse Lyon is on the pole position. Bryce Rodriguez will start from P2 as Robbie Prescott is 3rd, and then Kerry Brooks will start in 4th. From there, it's Nicky Chan P5 and Chris Braun starting from 6th. Then it's Wang in 7th as Arthur Chan starts from 8th, Thomas Ewing in P9, Rich Delmazio starts from 10th, Chad Henson will be P11, and then Joe Sinclair will be starting from the outside of row 6, Ewan.
Roddy Campbell in 13th place ahead of Jason Finch, with Klaus Nielsen and Kevin Chokel on row 8. Brett Holmes and Matthew Siddle are just in behind. They are either side of the 1 second mark off pole position in that session. Matthew Chokel is 19th, ahead of Justin Sang, who was just 12 thousandths behind him. Fernando Torres only 1 thousandth further behind, another 2 thousandths behind Dave Hernandez. Very close back here. Lee Peterson and Eric Sutton round out row 12.
There, Michael Patterson starts in 25th, and it's Lenny Hall in P26. Chad Sosnowski will be in 27th, and Joachim Baker all the way down in 29th for him. Matt Zervis in 29th, as that will round out our field of nearly 30 cars here today, and drivers won't be as stressed about being towards the back, because passes are definitely possible here. But part of the problem is the first lap has a couple real danger zones. Turn 5 and the kink if they see accidents, it can often cause quite significant pileups, Ewan.
Yeah, absolutely it can. It's been the danger at any circuit, I suppose, but it's been good to see this season that in all classes really of the Porsche Club of America, that generally the starts this season have been quite good. So hoping that that's going to be the same. But I must admit, the last race I commentated on around this circuit was a humongous pile-up on the start. So let's hope that doesn't happen again. Hick is the on board with Jesse Lyon to watch throughout the warm-up session. We can get a bit of a view here as to what this circuit's like. Throwing it in towards turn one, the fast right-hander there, just trying to keep it on the road is more important there than anything. You pick up it off track on the outside pretty easily. Pretty difficult downhill braking zone towards turn three. Next, looking for a late apex and a good run down the straight and under the cheese towards turn five, where you're going to be, again, struggling on the brakes. This is one of those real zones for overtaking down here. And Jesse Lyon will be looking over his shoulder throughout the early part of this race for sure. Use a lot of that on the right-hand side, even if most of it is off the circuit. Open the corner out as much as possible for the short run up towards turn six. You can't really see where you're going here until you need to be on the apex. There it is. Lyon using second gear just to get the front rotated a little bit there, and now back up into fourth again, ready for turn seven, which is getting ever more flat out in a GT3 these days. Down the hill back again in towards turn eight now. A pretty simple 90-degree left-hander to go with the theme of this circuit. Then in towards the carousel. Bring it to the left before you get there. Then just bring it in early. Then let it run out a little bit through the middle of the road, not too far out wide, but then bring it back in for the final part of the corner. Utilise the exit as much as possible. That was pretty nicely done. And now through the kink. Again, another corner that's getting ever more flat out in a GT3 as the technology seems to develop year on year, as that makes the speed ever increase on the way down in towards Canada corner. Not so much of an overtaking opportunity, I don't think, as it used to be. Down in towards turn two, again using Canada corner, second gear, to get the front rotated. Now in towards Bill Mitchell Bend. Just again, revving it out in fourth, shift up to fifth, keeping it nice and controlled, and then the final corner, which again is about getting the best run possible with a late apex. Not the bestest of runs from Jesse Lyon, but only needed half a straight of a run, really, on the way up towards the line, and that was the pole lap to get him into the 2-minute twos. So, yeah, very good lap, and didn't see him put many feet wrong there. That was pretty clean, all in all.
Yeah, not too surprised with the other two drivers on the top three so close to him. Yeah, everybody must have really nailed it up at the front to be within those 0.08 of a second between them. Just 30 seconds left here in our warm-up, and then it's off to the race itself. You were talking about suspecting that I had been here. I've been a number of times for some race calls, and if I could have a little bit of a humble brag, I actually have ridden my skateboard around for a lap at this place. So that is why I can tell you it is very steep in some places.
And you had to get off and carry it, I suppose, up the hill.
For the uphill portions. Yeah, absolutely.
Have you got a powered skateboard?
No.
Anyway.
I'm a purist. I would never put a motor on my skateboard.
Is that morally wrong in the skateboarding community?
It is divisive, I will put it that way.
Okay, fine. Okay, you learn something new every day. Anyway, yeah, I can imagine that on some of the downhills, though, I can imagine you get up to some serious speed, because it is pretty steep in places. And you'd think, with these race cars being so big and so high speed, so high tech, that actually almost these what look like gentle rises up and down don't really affect these cars, but they certainly do. And you'll see that in towards turn five. I've been talking about this for a long time when I've been commentating on races at Road America. The downhill nature of that braking zone at turn five makes it even more of an opportunity for overtaking than it would have been previously. It's a long straight down in towards the tight corner, and so people think, well, that's the reason why it's such a big and important braking zone. But the fact is, downhill makes it worse and makes it even more of an overtaking chance. That's where a lot of our action is going to be tonight.
Indeed, and like I said, it does make it problematic at the very start of the race. You'll sometimes see drivers on the cold tires overshoot it just a little bit. Hopefully we won't have that issue here today, but we've got a short pace lap. We'll be starting through the kettle bottoms down into Canada corner, and the pace car will release them. We'll have 60 minutes of racing. The other thing you don't want to get wrong here is the fuel, because the lap is so long. That means it's going to be difficult to try and make your way around for an extra one. And on top of it, it is all uphill to the pit lane, so you can't exactly coast to your pit stall. Here we go. Looks like the drivers are about ready, coming out of Bill Mitchell Bend up towards the final corner, as we're going to see the view on board and show you how much it rises up towards the start-finish straight. Can Lyon manage to take a victory for this one? Or will it be another Bryce Rodriguez victory here today? He's been on and off for them. One at Portimao and Silverstone, but second at Daytona and Mosport. They're looking for the green flag, and there it is. Green flag is out. They accelerate a long ways down this main straight into the first corner, and it is going to be a game of chicken into there. It's not the greatest to start from Rodriguez on the outside as Prescott tries to take that P2 away. He breaks a lot earlier, though, down into the first corner. Are we going to make it out the other side as they go 2 by 2? It looks good to me.
It was almost like a NASCAR start there, the way that people were pushing one another in the different lines, and that has effectively helped Jesse Lyon to hold on to the lead. Oh, there has been contact. It's come down at turn 3, unfortunately. We'll get word as to who's gone off down there at the back end of the field, but problems already, unfortunately. Meanwhile, for the lead, Bryce Rodriguez is either going to try and stay behind Lyon and get him to get on with this, or he's going to go for the move. He's going to stay behind him, hope that he gets the speed on, and hope that they can run away from the rest of the field. Further behind, Kerry Brooks overtakes Robbie Prescott for third.
It was Jokel and Finch, I believe, who had that off at the back of the field. I think both are able to continue. They do have a spare car if they have damage, but you don't want to use it this early. Tell you what, it's been a bad beginning to Robbie Prescott's race. He started on in third, had a chance to maybe take second, but has since gone back. Kerry Brooks is in front of him, but Rodriguez is on the charge. He's been laying the pressure onto Lyon.
This is how it happened down at the back end of the field. It was about halfway down, and yeah, there you can see the initial contact just up in front there. So, and that's the unfortunateness, I suppose, of slowing down for the instant with people so close behind you. You could get shunted off the road as well, but it looked like someone just trying to make a move down the inside, not quite getting enough space. One of those things that happens on lap 1, really, as everyone's trying to make up places. Someone is bound to make contact with somebody else.
So difficult to try and stay out of trouble, even in a clean series such as this. It'll happen from time to time. I wonder if we'll see any penalties out of it is the big question, as they do have that orange zone that expect drivers to be even more tidy. But the first lap going to be led by our pole sitter, Jesse Lyon. Let's get another angle on it with Jokel here. Oh, okay. So yeah, he was just kind of innocently collected. He was behind it, had to take the escape out into the gravel and dirt, and that cost him a lot.
Yeah, it did. Pretty unfortunate, really, because he didn't do anything wrong, and he was just trying to keep his car clean and avoid everything, but he was the one who lost a lot of time out of that in the end. And it's pretty unfortunate that contact was made in the first place, to be honest. They were all stacking up and checking up for cars braking in front of them, and to avoid them, and ended up clashing. So it was all pretty unfortunate for everybody there. Meanwhile, Arthur Chan is looking to make a move here for 7th place on Wang, who's just on the inside line. Wang was looking for a move on Chris Brown, by the way, through turns 1, 2 and 3 on that lap, but he couldn't do it. Then got under pressure himself, but no positions change in this battle for 6th place, which is already quite a long way behind the battle for 1st.
They've dropped off Chris Braun, really the big separation we've got. It goes from 1st to 5th with a little bit of a group forming, much like we had at Daytona. We could get a few draft trains out here. It won't be as extreme as what we saw down at the Roval course, but like you heard Ewan mention, it's so many long straights out of 90-degree corners here. The drivers will find themselves getting quite it. So one more look at it from Jokel's view. And who was that made that tip initially there? Just trying to make it out.
Jason Finch is the one who went around. I think it was Matthew Siddle, if I was to guess. But I shouldn't guess, but I just have. Yeah, it was definitely Jason Finch who went around. And you saw what I mean about the fact that it was sort of not really anybody's fault. There's Eric Sutton, by the way, on this most recent lap has gone off as well, and we've got to replay that as well. Oh! Went straight into the back of someone down there at the bottom of the hill. That was Leif Peterson just up in front. who he made contact with, and he drops to the back end of the field. You just saw on that opening lap incident, people jinking out the way of cars in front of them and unfortunately running out of road. Finch there was avoiding an incident up ahead of it. Well, not an incident, but a check-up in front of him. He moved to the right. There was already someone alongside him, though, and that's how he got spun around.
And he was the one that got the penalty. Finch has been given a black flag, but he's been in pit lane, and I know he's not in the car right now. I'm not sure if he's actually, he has not officially retired the car, so don't know if he intends to try and serve that or not. Battle for third is on, and honestly, battle for the lead looks awful close just in front of them as well. Brooks versus Prescott coming down to the corner. Prescott gets to the inside, but now he's got to out-accelerate him. He'll have another left-hand corner up at the Corvette Bridge at turn 6. The job is not done, and he's going to try his best to slot in front. He just barely finds the room.
It feels like an important day for Robbie Prescott, and so making moves early, trying to get into these high positions early on is important here. Not even 5 minutes into the race, and he's already on the front foot, which is good to see from him. Moves up to third place. There was a bit of resistance from Kerry Brooks, but Prescott made it certain that he was going to always defend that move, and getting dragged into a battle at this stage, not the best idea. So 5 minutes gone, Prescott moves up to third, and we'll really see his pace now. Is he able to run down those front two, who now do have a second over this battle?
Yeah, it took a bit of time away from them going side by side for 2 straight corners. Hopefully he'll be able to make that up, give us some action up at the front. And now it looks like Gary Brooks, Nicky Chan once again nose to tail there as we watch both battles here up at the top of the field come around to complete yet another lap. So with a little bit of clean air, we'll have to watch and see what the lap time looks like not this time by, but the next time by for Prescott.
Yeah, we will. That was, by the way, as you can see there on the left-hand side, reversing a positional change that had happened. So no changes inside the top 9. Kind of falls upon what I was saying earlier on about the very sort of NASCAR-style start, if you like, of this race. Very much everyone in line, pushing one another, and it helped Jesse Lyon to hold on to the lead ahead of Bryce Rodriguez, who sort of let him in, and he was let in himself. So it was all very formulaic, and the top 9, as a result, have stayed in the same positions that they were qualified in. You may have to wait all the way to the pit stop phase in that case to see these battles really changing up front, because as soon as the leaders get organised, like Lyon and Rodriguez are at the moment, we'll less incentivise those behind Arch to battle, because they'll just lose more time and get further away from the lead.
Exactly. Was it Sosnowski that you had mentioned earlier that you thought was a little bit out of place? Because if so, he's up 10 so far in the middle of the pack. This is Jokel, who's on a recovery drive here from the back of the field, still running last of those that are on the track.
Yeah, he's now looking down the inside in towards turn 8. That's not going to happen. This just up ahead, by the way, is Rodney Campbell for Matthew Jokel. It's Kevin Jokel who's at the back of the field, by the way.
Apologies.
It's all right. 2 Jokels on the track together. It won't be the last time we do that. And it's part of this wider battle for 15th place here, going right the way down the field, including Chad Sosnowski, who you were just talking about there. I didn't actually say it out loud, but I was thinking it. He had that front bumper off in qualifying, didn't he? We saw him for a brief moment, and he didn't seem to come in to get it repaired, so he must be out of position. He's going to get one there. Jokel pushes Rodney Campbell out the way, and Sosnowski looks to try and take both of them here. He's on the outside now for the penultimate corner. If he can stay there, he'll be on the inside. The final one, that was very close to disaster. Campbell just about holds on, or Jokel, excuse me, just about hangs on from Sosnowski. Goodness me.
Chad had the bit between his teeth there. It's not often that you go side by side through Bill Mitchell Bend and then get loose making contact and get away with it. Nice little battle behind them. Look at that trio coming up into turn 1. So a battle for 2, a battle for 3 into turn 1. Who's going to come out ahead amongst them? Looks like Campbell stays ahead of the 3 at the back, and then also Joker will hold on to that position in 15th ahead of Sosnowski. And also, I think they've got Mike Patterson, it looks like, starting to join up on this with all the excitement they've been having.
It's always going to do that. And these guys, not showing any signs of letting off at the moment. Is Sosnowski pushing Jokel this time round? I wonder whether this is a bit of cooperation between these two that they weren't getting from those behind either. Torres versus Campbell in towards turn 5, resulting Torres making a place this time. He's up to 17th, but that said to me very much there. Sosnowski wanting to work with Jokel and wanting to get further away in the field.
Maybe thinks he's got some pretty decent pace, doesn't want to lose those spots back to those behind. It's about 3.2 seconds up to Brett Holmes, so yeah, not really much reason for him to try and fight him too hard if he feels like he could just follow him up to that 06 car, but we'll see if he's able to do that. Meanwhile, as we come down into the kink once again, definitely want to stay single file rather through this one. Wheel to wheel will slow you down tremendously. Up in front of them, we check in on the battle between Chad Henson, Joe Sinclair, Klaus Nielsen. This is for 10th position.
Yeah, this is one of those sort of breaks in the field, as well as the top 9 are sort of getting away from the rest. This is what's been created behind with Henson and then everybody else in behind. Joe Sinclair very close behind through that final corner there, and he's got a chance here in towards turn 1 if he wants to have a go. He's not that far behind, but you need to be really close in towards turn 1, otherwise it's never going to happen because there's such a short braking zone. Sinclair is too far behind, even though he's less than 2/10 behind. It's too far away. Does he go for it this time at turn 5 instead? Or are we seeing the beginning of, or indeed the continuation of just a single file running for these guys?
So Sutton has gotten a black flag, and this is why. Yoakum got a nice little turn 360, or at least 270, and eventually is able to get going once again. But Eric has copped a black flag for that one. He's already serving it, and he'll be back out on the track shortly. In the meantime, we continue to watch this fight with Henson leading this group for the top 10. And that is Sinclair behind him, Klaus Nielsen in the green, yellow, and black car as well. Just kind of keeping these laps ticking off, knowing that they're so close. Oh, that was tight down into 6, and it's Sosnowski again. Are we sure about them working together?
Well, not anymore. Oh, not anymore. Certainly not after that. There's some contact. That'll wake you up down in towards turn 8. Matthew Jokel there getting the hurry up, and the situation's changed here. I do think earlier they were working together to get away from the rest, but with Torres now in front and some of the others coming up, he's actually realising, Sosnowski, that he's being caught again here, and maybe after spending a couple of laps behind Jokel, he thinks he's quicker, and so he can have a go here in towards Canada corner, is he? I always think this is a more difficult overtaking chance than it seems sometimes. Again, he's into the back of Jokel here. This time he's going to go to the outside line, though. Jokel brakes quite early. Is Sosnowski late enough on the brakes and far enough alongside? It looks like it. He's on the inside for the penultimate. Oh, cornering! Oh, he thought he was clear. He tried to get across the nose of the Porsche there, but he thought he was clear. He wasn't quite. Jokel's going to have another go. Back down the inside of him in towards the final corner, and there it is. You could see that coming from a mile away, and Chad Sosnowski's in the gravel.
Things just got a little bit too heated, and yeah, you were right. That was just written all over that things were getting too spicy. Thought I saw a bit of bodywork flying off, but it doesn't look like it came off of Chad's car, as that front bumper is still on, and he's able to keep going. That also might see another penalty rock up for us.
That's certainly going to be a penalty for someone. You could just see it going on. You could just see it happening. Sosnowski, I get the aggression. There was nothing wrong with the outside move at the Canada corner. There certainly was something wrong with trying to pull over on someone in towards Bill Mitchell Ben when you weren't clear in time. That's going to rile up Jokel, who gave it another go and then served Sosnowski. So those two are, well, let's hope they don't get together on the circuit again. Let's put it that way, because those two will be pretty filthy with each other at the moment after all of that. But it's a very entertaining battle down there, I've got to say. It's from 15th place on down, by the way, and it includes everyone up to 23rd. That's 9 drivers now.
Tensions do seem to be high here in these early stages. Speaking of being high up, it looks like the leaders continuing to run away from the field. Top 3 still fighting. Here's another look at it. Yeah, that's a difficult one, because it was a bit of a lunge to the inside, and there were extenuating circumstances from what happened on just the corner prior. So good luck to the stewards on trying to make a decision there.
Yeah, exactly. Hard to know from that angle who was coming over on who. Was Sosnowski trying to just take the racing line and take the apex there anyway? Or was Jokel sending it too deep into that final corner and lunging, as you say, from too far back? It's difficult to tell. Oh, hello. What is Bryce Rodriguez doing there? It's way too early to pit. I've no idea why he's jinking out to the right-hand side like that, but he's getting in the mirrors. Here's a better view of it.
Oh, that's he had presentation.
That's difficult to call it. From that angle, to me, it looks a bit like Sosnowski was coming over as if he was on the racing line and no one was alongside him there, but it's a very difficult call.
Yeah, we'll let the race control try and make their decision on that one. They have more time to really analyze it and see how it compares to the rule book. Yeah, that was strange about Rodriguez kind of weaving. I wonder if he was trying to clear some dirt off the tires or something there, but Prescott is closer now after he lost a little bit down into the corner. Not able to try and make a pass. Zerbis is going to have a little bit of a spin. Easy to do, honestly, at turn 6 there. That's such a tricky little left-hander.
Oh, and that's quite a tricky left-hander as well. Rich Del Mazo going for a spin to the inside. Not a good thing about this, primarily, is getting going again. It's a bit of a nightmare. Got to do it all on the grass. That's that battle we were watching for 15th, by the way, all racing through all at once there. Probably the worst group to possibly be behind you at that stage. They're now battling for 14th because of that spin for Del Mazo. He was having a quiet, nice run inside the top 15, but it's now outside the top 20.
He's had another spin just now off screen, so it's something must be wrong with the car for him to have so many in quick succession. Let's get a little bit of an ad read in before this starts to heat up, because we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. We hop on board now with Bryce Rodriguez coming up the hill after the first quarter has wrapped up in this race. They've distanced themselves from Kerry Brook by about 1.3 seconds. So it's not a huge gap, but it's big enough that they've probably broken the slipstream.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's quite right. That'll be not good for the clean driver award. Anyway, yeah, we're starting to see that here at the front of this race. I think it's been pretty clear actually from the start that these three out front are faster than the rest. Jesse Line, Bryce Rodriguez and Robbie Prescott. But the driver who's impressed me most actually out of the three of them has been Robbie Prescott so far. Not least because he's got the fastest lap of the race so far, but actually because he had a second to close on Rodriguez and Line. And maybe they aren't pushing as hard as they could, given their 1 and 2. However, the fact he's run them down in a way that we haven't really seen anybody anywhere else in the field do so far without slipstream, now he's got it, was very impressive indeed, and shows a bit of extra pace in that car that we haven't seen. It may exist in the cars of Jesse Line and Bryce Rodriguez, but we haven't seen it yet. We certainly see Prescott lay his cards on the table. He has got a quick car.
I mean, so many heavy braking zones and critical corner exits. Yeah, maybe it would behoove him to just be a little kind on the tires, maybe not get the absolute most out of them on so many of those runs. And that is 4 wheels off for Robbie Prescott and lives to tell the tale coming out of the carousel. And now he's 4 wheels off again through the kink, and he gets away with it, but this time he's going to be slowed up, and Kerry Brooks pounces at the opportunity.
That was a bit of a commentator's curse. Apologies for that. Kerry Brooks is straight through into third place again. I think Prescott, aside from the fact he's lost a place, will be just pleased he's still on the road, to be honest, because it's a really dangerous place to have any sort of moment. The wall is there to collect you even at the slightest moment. So Prescott is pretty lucky to have gotten away with that. Now, how does he respond to it? Does he immediately strike back and get back into third again? Because what made him so impressive in the first 5 minutes was that he got on the front foot immediately in the race and started moving forward. Does he do that again? Well, not in towards turn 1 this time round.
Not yet, at least. He took victory in the first race of the season at Daytona, did Robbie Prescott, but has not stood on the top step since here in Series 13. Does seem like he's hungry for it, maybe a little too hungry, making a few critical mistakes here in this first 20 minutes.
You've got to keep these mistakes down in these races. The pro class especially, more than any other, is too close and competitive to be making mistakes on a regular basis. You've got to clean that up a little bit as we go aboard. Meanwhile, with Arthur Chan, a good look at a triple screen display from just over his head. And to me, his monitors look a bit square, but anyway, I'm sure he's fine. Currently running in 8th place, pretty much on his own actually at the moment, not really with much around him.
I do love, after I had mentioned a couple races ago that I remember, calling races with Arthur Chan, more than a decade ago at this stage, and he brought up a picture from one of those races where he was actually traveling and racing from a hotel, but his setup, the desks there didn't work with his wheels, so he had to rig something up with the ironing table to attach his wheel to that and then have the laptop behind that.
He attached his wheel to the ironing table?
Yes.
Ah. The things we do for sim racing sometimes is quite ridiculous. Really,
exactly.
But great commitment to the cause. And by the way, that's why I don't ever trust a wheel just mounted to a desk, and you should probably go and get something else to stand it on, because then it will always work. Anyway, that's besides the point. I'm sure he's much more comfortable where he is at the moment, based on what we just saw there. On the bottom of your screen there, by the way, is the long train that we were watching earlier on. It's actually gone a bit further down the field now, but they are still battling away. And I've noticed in the last couple of laps, Kerry Brooks looks like he's got a bit of incentive to catch up to the leading 2 again here. Maybe he will be a leading 4 again soon.
Yeah, to Kerry's credit, it was, I think, about 1.2 seconds away from that group before, and that was with Robbie Prescott at the tail of it. Even now, having passed him, he's cut it down to about 8 or 9 tenths at times. So it seems like he's closing ever so slowly on them. And thankfully, he has plenty of race to try and make that stick. As on the bottom, we now watch the battle for 6th place between Chris Braun and Wang. They're between the 258 and the 521 machine.
Yeah, this is quite a stretched battle at the moment, to be honest. 8 tenths apart, but it's all they've got to focus on. They're probably going to be more focused on their individual speed than each other at this stage, to be honest, given the gap between the 2 of them. But that is the closest battle for those 2. A bit further down in the field, Chan Henson's still at the head of a group for 10th place. He's got Joe Sinclair, Carl Nielsen just in behind. Brett Holmes is a 2.5 behind. Then you've got a few more seconds back to Fernando Torres, who's still at the head of a very long group, although it is far more stretched out than what we saw earlier on in the race. So these long trains are starting to really go away now, because we're over 20 minutes into this race, and that's generally what happens at this stage. We focus less on these long groups and more on the pit stops that are just around the corner.
Coming sooner than you think. Laps being so long around here, we find ourselves there sooner rather than later, and it's a thirsty track too, since it is so stop-start around here. So drivers might have a bit of a smaller window than is typical. This is a decent run here from Sinclair. He's gaining, but I don't know if he's got enough straightaway. This is one of the open setup classes as well, so drivers will probably be trying to trim that out so that they can run away from drivers on these long straights.
Yeah, I think Road America is one of those circuits where, personally, I would really like a low downforce car around here for the speed on those long straights. And not only that, but actually I think you can get away with low downforce here, especially in a GT3 car, a bit more than you can around some other venues. Has Thomas Ewing gone off there? It looks like he has. And now Chad Henson's even got a chance at an overtake, maybe. Ewing doesn't want to let this happen, but Chad Henson's coming up with the momentum, because Ewing's been off the road through the final corner, but no, they will stay single file. It's now in battle for 9th place. But if you look at most of these corners in Road America, I mean, most of them, there are some exceptions, but a lot of them are pretty low speed. You're not really using the downforce on these cars very much anyway, so I think it's a really good idea to go low downforce, but if everybody does, then it doesn't really make much of a difference.
a lot of those lower speed corners and then interspersed. You look here at the carousel, so long and just carrying the speed as you go. And of course, the infamous kink coming out of that one. You might be looking at that runoff and wondering why they still have that wall so close. Well, the answer is there's actually train tracks on the other side, so they can't move that back. It is to the limit.
I think it keeps it punishing and you know, a challenging corner. If we tarmacked it and put the wall another 10 meters back, it wouldn't be anywhere near as challenging or exciting, I don't think. So
no, definitely not.
So yeah, it's kind of a good thing that that's the case. Really, as long as it's obviously safe to still go around there at the speeds we do these days, then I think it's probably a good thing. But it's one of the most challenging corners on this circuit. As I was commenting on in qualifying, by the way, these GT3s seem to be getting more flat out through that corner every year.
The drivers have been figuring out setups that work just that little bit better, and like you said, the technology in the real world also continues to pick up, and the teams and the manufacturers find just those little bits of aerodynamic and mechanical grip, keep those cars planted. P1 and P3 both still up for grabs, though it's a little closer between Brooks and Prescott for that third position. Looks like Robbie's got a nice run, an initial defense from Kerry. Fades off to the racing line, tries to cut back, and he was a little bit too sneaky for his own good. He was not able to cut back through. Prescott's going to get back into third.
Well, watch this cut back again through turn 6. He's not going to get alongside for 7, but maybe for 8 if he can stay close enough, but he can't. So Prescott will now get that place, and now his task is doubly as difficult than what it was in the previous parts of this race. About 20 minutes ago when he got through, the gap was only a second and the race was much younger, but we've got 1/3 less raced and double the margin now for Prescott. So this has all of a sudden become more difficult, and he's already made mistakes in this race. He absolutely cannot afford any others if he wants to finish ahead of Rodriguez. I personally think he needs to finish in the top 2 here today, because he's already 70 points behind going into this race. Rodriguez is going to score at least the point for a second place finish, and so it's he needs to start getting some points somehow, Prescott. Oh. That is Chad Sosnowski in towards turn 5, getting it all wrong.
It's going to be a race to forget for Chad, which will be hard considering how much excitement he has had, but unfortunately did not anticipate a car being at that apex as he made a late dive. So I wonder if we'll see a penalty coming in for that one. But speaking of which, we never did have a penalty for that other incident that he was involved in. Boy, he was shallow. I mean, he was practically on the very inside.
He was very shallow. I mean, through that corner, you can kind of get away with being that shallow, but you can't get away with breaking that late when you're on that line. And that was a big bit of contact. I'd be very surprised if whoever he hit didn't get pretty significant damage from that. I'm trying to work out, was it Rodney Campbell who he hit? I think it might have been. There you go. There's the black flag for Chad Sosnowski. Unsurprisingly, having to come into pit lane. That was really quite a big hit.
Came out quickly, so there wasn't much debate from the stewards on that one. Checking back in with P1. Rodriguez really keeping Lyon honest, but if you believe in the patterns of numbers, Bryce is set for a second place today, but we'll see if he can break that pattern as he's looking fast here. Just haven't seen him really attack. That's the thing that intrigues me. And he's just been kind of sitting at this sort of half-second distance since pretty much the green flag.
It's been metronomic almost, the gap between the two of them. It's very interesting as well. I always find these gaps very difficult to read, to be honest, when we're sat here, because we're not in the cars and we can't follow them 24/7 to try and work out what's going on between them. But at the moment, I can't choose between them, because so far, not seen any evidence between either of them that either is quicker than the other at this stage, so it's very difficult to read. We do know a little bit more about the likes of Robbie Prescott and Kerry Brooks, and the likes that Prescott is probably quicker than Brooks, and maybe even is quicker than the front 2 as well, but not by that much, and just needs to stay ahead, or stay on the road, I should say, and stay out of the mistakes to get with the front 2. But I don't think we really know very much at all about Jesse Lyon and Bryce Rodriguez's pace in relation to each other. We just know that they're quite quick and good enough to lead this race. But well, who's going to win the race? Pretty difficult to tell at the moment.
Could come down to those pit stops too, and we've seen drivers use that to really great effect as well. But once again, we want to give a quick shout out to Princess Cruises because they're the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Definitely has been a bit of a drop with Robbie and Kerry having their little back and forth. They're almost 2 seconds back from those top two. There you can see the gap now between them. And then similarly back to Nikki Chan, about 1 3/4 of a second to get to the 000 car. Hasn't been able to catch up to them, which does to me imply that it seems like most of the top drivers have been pushing if fifth place just can't seem to reel them in.
Yeah, I think Chan is probably not quite as quick as the top four at the moment. But I do think Chan's quite a lot quicker than the rest as well, down behind him. So it's very much everybody ordered in the place where they should be at the moment. As Fernando Torres, who's been at the front of a big group for a while, goes for a big spin through the penultimate corner, and thankfully he's not hit as well. Don't reverse into the wall. He's just got away with it, and he'll rejoin in towards the final corner. But goodness me, that was a big spin. He did well, actually, catching that and sort of spinning it back to the right-hand side. Even if it was an overcorrection and a spin back the other way, you'd rather go that way than to the inside and hit the wall.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, both walls have seen some massive wrecks out of that corner. It's a bit of a scary one with how you come over blind and the car just seems to rip up and through there. Things get a little close coming down into turn one amongst our leaders, but still no position change in any of those top four. Halfway through kind of marks where we tend to see at least a few takers on pit stops, and I'm looking over at my time in scoring. I see Nielsen's been in, Sang, Campbell, Siddall, Torres, Baker, and then Sosnowski has also pitted. And they do look to be, well, no, some of them don't look like standard times. Others, though, do, such as Nielsen and Campbell. So I think we might still need a few drivers to come in here, amongst them Rich Dalmazio, actually the latest now, be coming down pit lane as we check in on the battle for 10th between Hinson and Sinclair. But they've dropped their friend who was with them earlier.
Yeah, it's probably just the fate of the race, the way that the race has gone in the first half an hour. Generally, these gaps do tend to get bigger, and that even applies in the midfield for these battles. Even though it doesn't look like Henson has particularly moved his speed, it has resulted in the group getting smaller. To be fair, I say that Henson did set his personal best last lap, so maybe he is moving his speed and going a little bit quicker. He still hasn't been able to get rid, though, of Joe Sinclair, who's right behind him. And that battle for 10th will continue on in this part of the field as we look onto pit lane at the likes of Rich Dalmazio, who's down on pit lane at the moment. I believe Jason Finch, Matt Zerbis and Eric Sutton are all out the race, by the way. If not, they're having some pretty long repairs down there on pit lane, and most of them have yet to make their scheduled pit stop.
Yeah, Finch has officially retired, but Sutton has not. Zerbez, I'm with you. I suspect that might be his race over, unless he's already used his free repair and is just waiting a long time for that to wrap up. All right, here we go. Couple drivers from the top taking their pick of their tires and fuel. Looks like Kerry Brooks, Nikki Chan, both in. Oh, and Rodriguez just took the lead. What happened to Jesse Lyon just now?
Yeah, it's Lyon who's had the problems. It's through turn one. Jesse Lyon has had problems through turn one, and now we're really going to find out the speed of these guys, because Rodriguez is out front on his own by 2 seconds. Lyon now is behind the 8 ball, has got some work to do here, but he's down to third in 1 moment through turn one.
Wow. Prescott managed to get by. Probably would be even one more down if Kerry Brooks hadn't pitted that lap. And there you see just a simple mistake of going wide. I feel like that first corner is really deceptive. It looks like all the other slow 90-degree corners, but I tell you what, you take a lot of speed through there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was all on the turn in there. The rear end was not with him from minute one of that turn in for turn one. Immediately he felt it go, and he corrected it quickly enough to not allow the spin to transpire at all, but he ran wide in the gravel. In the end, lost quite a lot of time, really, when you consider the relatively minor mistake he made. He did lose quite a lot of time, but this is the advantage and the fact that he was punished for that mistake. It's really the reason why there should be a grass and gravel trap on the outside of this corner. If that was tarmac, he would have gotten away with that and held the lead, but the gravel has punished him there. It slowed him down, and he's dropped 2 places from a pretty minor mistake.
So will we see any of the others pit in from this one? There's a bit surprisingly early, honestly, from Kerry and Nikki, but maybe they felt like they could get a little bit more out of it. And Lyon is going to pit in because he figures, might as well, I've lost the track position.
Exactly. Absolutely the right thing to do. There's no point carrying on there, just plugging away behind Robbie Prescott. You're not going to get anywhere. You might as well come in for a bit of almost a mental reset more than anything else, more than the fuel itself that you're going to need to make it home. Just to get into pit lane, gather your thoughts yourself over this very long pit lane, and then get back out there and push on again. There is not that much free traffic out to be had, so he's going to hope that he gets ahead of Kevin Jokel, and Dave Hernandez, who are battling away. But this is a well-timed pit stop from Jesse Lyon in this race. Down off the jacks he now goes, and he's still waiting in the box for those 20 seconds or so to elapse. In fact, he only needs 17.3. He'll hope that is a short time, and he has indeed just got ahead of Kevin Jokel. He's got 8 seconds of clean air in front. That's what I was waiting to see. He's got good amount of clean air.
I am a bit concerned. 17.3 compared to what most of the other drivers doing is nearly 4 seconds shorter. And in fact, Kerry Brooks, who was also short about 19.5, wound up behind him, I think. So it was critical that Lyon had that short stop because it got him out ahead of him. But boy, he's going to have a tough time if that fuel is as light as that implies.
Well, Justin Sang has done the same time in the pit lane, 17 seconds as well. 17.4 to be exact, so 1/10 more, but even so, he's done the same pretty much time there, and I think he'll be okay. I think a lot of that first part of the race out front was fuel saving. I know he didn't have the slipstream of Bryce Rodriguez, but the moments we were on board with Rodriguez, he certainly was lifting off. Now, that won't have all been because of the traffic, the amount he was lifting off. That would have been because Lyon was saving a bit of fuel out front as well. So I think he's bought himself that with the race lead and with lifting off. Robbie Prescott comes in to respond.
Okay, and Braun does as well. Looks like Arthur Chan. So now we're start to really get a feel for how this is all going to play out. Yeah, this does make sense with most of the races seeing drivers go about 15 minutes left or so. 20 minutes left looks like about the range that we'll see most drivers be able to do here today. Rodriguez, one of the few to carry on, so definitely was saving some pretty good fuel if he can do a lap that nobody else can, because nobody else has been able to make this extra lap that Bryce has.
Yeah, that's what I mean about the fuel saving. I think Lyon was doing a bit of it, and as a result, Bryce was doing a lot. Here is Prescott out the pit lane. That's going to be behind Lyon by a mile. He might even be behind Kerry Brooks. He is. Goodness me, that's not... no, he's not. Sorry, he's just ahead. Confusing me there. Prescott does get ahead of Brooks, but that's quite a long stop, really, for Robbie Prescott. I guess he did have to do those laps of pushing on earlier on when he lost all that time and had to recatch, and he's been not doing very much fuel saving because he's been sort of chasing a lot of this race, but he's now lost those couple of seconds to Lyon, who's hoping that Rodriguez somehow has a pretty long stop here, but I can't see it. I can see this being a 17-second hit, maybe even shorter for Bryce Rodriguez, because he's gone on longer than anyone else.
The thing that I wonder about this, because we've got sort of a split here, either they're doing about 17 or 18 gallons of fuel, or 17 or 18 seconds, rather, I should say, or they're doing about 21, 22 seconds for some drivers. I wonder if it's close on whether or not they're going to get the amount of laps that they expect, and that it could wind up to where the leader is at the line, which right now the line is going to be in pit lane for Bryce as he does pit.
I don't think it's going to be that close. I think it's going to be another 10 laps, and that's going to be the end of it. Lyon's going to cross the line here with about 20 minutes to go or so. Taking Rodriguez out a bit yet because he hasn't made his final stop, but with 20 minutes to go, you're going to do another 10 laps with 104-ish lap times. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty certain how many laps of this race we get. I'm not sure whether people have been putting an extra one in just in case or whatever, but I think everyone will know exactly the length of this one as Bryce Rodriguez pulls to a stop. 17 seconds, the magic number here, by the way. Just watch for that on the top left of your screen, and Jesse Lyon trying to roll through on the bottom of your screen. Now we're getting up to that 17 seconds. Rodriguez is going exactly on that mark.
It was almost the exact same time that Jesse Lyon was in there, which means he's not been able to catch up, but it is at about a second behind as our new leader, Bryce Rodriguez, emerges. I want to say that he lost more than that in his mistake, so I think Jesse's call for a pit stop wound up being a good one because it looks like he got himself some clear air.
Yeah, exactly. He's got himself ahead of Prescott, first of all, and hasn't had to make that move. He's also got himself right back behind Rodriguez. His stop was worse, his lane time was worse, but his out lap was phenomenal. And that first flying lap was great as well. A 2:03.4 from Jesse Lyon. A new fastest lap of the race by just half a tenth of a second for Jesse Lyon. That is a big statement. We're seeing for the first time him really pushing on because, as I say, for the first part of that race, he was fuel saving quite heavily. That's why he's been able to take on that amount of fuel with Bryce Rodriguez, who even went a lap further than the rest.
So now he holds in behind and has been cutting in with those tires more up to temperature than Bryce Rodriguez's tires. He's able to gain at least a few more tenths and pushing out of the carousel. You can see Rodriguez just clipping the dirt using every inch of track he can. He knows that this is going to be a battle for the victory today.
He certainly does. We are in for a fantastic finish between these two, it feels. Two drivers who have been absolutely at the top of their game here tonight. They've been extremely quick once again. I think Lyon even more so, but the interesting thing is going to be whether he can actually make an overtake or not. That is the really critical thing here. Rodriguez at the moment keeping him at arm's length. Same for Prescott and Brooks, although those two are losing time actually to the two leaders, which is a contrast to the first part of this race where they were still lurking.
It's only a single podium so far this year for Jesse Lyon. That was at Portimao. And otherwise, he did not show for Daytona and then had very poor races at Mosport and Silverstone. This means that he's got a great opportunity to try and turn around the momentum for himself. He's obviously not going to be in the hunt for the championship with a missed race and two poor races under his belt, but anything he can do to try and get things on his side. Battle for ninth coming down into turn one, sees side by side between Henson and Ewing. Henson has the inside and the nose ahead coming down into turn three, gives just enough space to Thomas into that one. But now Thomas is going to have the pull down the long moraine sweep.
He's been defending for a lot of this race as Chad Henson, but he's finally now made an overtake, and that looked pretty comfortable as well. Ever since Thomas Ewing made that mistake through turn three all those laps ago, he has looked a little bit under pressure from those in behind, and he has paid for that now with that ninth place. So Chad Henson moving on up. I doubt he'll be moving up as far as these guys, though, who are fighting for seventh place. Wang and Chan are quite a long way ahead of those two.
Just an update for those that like to track who's been on the move. Leif Peterson up 10 spots from where he started. I think he may have had a bit of a poor qualifying. One of his laps did not count, so maybe he was a bit on the back foot, but has gone up from 23rd to 13th. As we check in on the battle just ahead of him in 7th, this is Wang with Arthur Chan coming in behind and starting to threaten.
Absolutely. He's still lurking there, Arthur Chan. Nicky Chan still running up in 5th place, by the way, but the gap back out to these guys getting ever larger now. They don't have to worry about the battle for 9th place particularly, and those guys catching them up, which is a bit of a benefit as well. Out of the final corner they now come, and I think Chan is too far behind again here this time round all the way towards turn 1. He'll be thinking more about turn 5. These are the guys for 9th again, and that's not going to help Ewing winning that place back.
Although seemed to get a decent run, he somehow found the grip on the dirt. He's still close behind. Could we have a pass down into turn 1? Ewing is reeling him in just inch by inch, shows his nose, but he's not able to outbrake him. Ensign holds on to 9th for now. A little bit of a better exit once again from Thomas down the hill. A little bit of a crooked braking zone coming into turn 3 here, but so important coming off the corner onto the Marine sweep. This is definitely in the hands of the 503 of Thomas Ewing, who we ride on board with. He's continued to stay glued to that red bumper.
I'm not sure how he's managing these exits while running in the grass, but either way, he's done it again. Oh, and he's very nearly gone to the back of him there through turn 5. He wasn't expecting Chad Henson to get on the brakes so early there. In fact, it wasn't really Henson on the brakes early. Thomas Ewing just missed his braking point, really, and he nearly rear-ended the driver in front of him. Thankfully, he avoided, and actually, he's done well to even hang on to 10th.
That definitely gave me a bit of a heart attack. Real quick, I want to give a mention to Princess Cruises because they're the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA Concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. You know how we wondered about the speed of Jesse Lyon? Well, guess how close he is now to that lead spot of Bryce Rodriguez.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you're not actually expecting me to guess because I can see it, but yeah, it's getting very close, that's for sure. We've got our answer now, you know, and it makes me feel slightly silly for even raising the question about whether he was actually quick and being at the front, or whether he was just in there because of his qualifying lap and everybody else was just saving fuel off the back of him. But no, he has shown in this final part of the race he is absolutely quick, and this is probably his first real chance at making an overtake for the lead.
Yeah, that fastest lap that you mentioned is only about 600ths quicker than Bryce Rodriguez's fastest lap. So yeah, these two are the cream of the crop today. Both of them trying to open up that entry to turn 5 as best they can. With now only 13 minutes left on the clock, Lyon now has some hard work to do because he's lost that track position. He was leading for much of the start of it, and he's going to have to make an overtake.
Yeah, I think these two are probably the top of the top here today, as we see Rich Jomazza going for another spin here tonight. This time through the final corner for him. I would add Robbie Prescott actually into that list as well, actually, but I think he's made too many mistakes himself, and he's also, just giving himself too much work to do, really, to get involved. If these two start fighting from about now, he's got a chance because there's still 6 laps left as they get to the line. However, if they leave it late, then Prescott's going to linger about 2 seconds behind.
I wonder what's going through the mind of Bryce Rodriguez, because he's the one that's leading this points battle. He needs the consistency to give himself the best margin possible. So yes, he wants this win because that will help, but how hard does he fight? Because another second place still leaves him in a fantastic spot, whereas in the reverse, Jesse Lyon's got nothing to lose. All he wants is the win.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think Prescott's going to give this, Rodriguez is going to give this one up, but I think you're right. He might well just tone it back a bit if it gets a bit too crazy. I think he may well just say, okay, I'll think about the championship game. But initially, he is going to show like he's going to defend for it, because if he can do that, he can put Jesse Lyon off from making a move. But he's not going to be able to do that for much longer. Now down in towards turn 3, he's already on the defensive. Now he puts it to the inside line. He's not putting himself in any danger by doing that. He's absolutely fine there, but he's got to show here that he's willing to defend here from Jesse Lyon. Now, once it gets difficult, maybe it could be a different story. But for now, he's showing that he will battle it out for the race win with 6 laps to go, including this one.
Close enough down into turn 5, perhaps the easier corner to try and make that pass for Jesse Lyon. He just wasn't there. He gets right back up to the bumper after his failed attempt at turn 3. He could have a chance down through the hurry downs into turn 8 here at the bottom of the hill. Another downhill braking zone into a left-hander, a sharp left-hander defensive move from Bryce Rodriguez, and forces him to slow down at the apex. A little bit of a rub between the bumpers.
Pretty smart defending from Rodriguez in isolation, but this is starting to run a risk now. There are drivers not far behind like Prescott and Brooks that are going to catch because of this, and Rodriguez, if he had his championship hat fully on and his ultra safety hard hat on for the championship, if you like, he would have let Lyon through and just run behind him to keep Prescott at bay and extend his championship lead again. It's clear, and it's great for us, it's clear he wants to win this race, and in doing so take the big reward, but there's high risk attached here as well. It's going to be a big battle, which increases the chances of an accident, and it's also going to increase the drivers around him, which means he could lose points in a pretty dramatic fashion if it all goes wrong.
Yeah, Prescott in there. Kerry Brooks is not that far behind as well. You do have a drop off to Nicky Chan. Here is that little bit of contact. You got to be oh so careful with that. Racing on the internet a little bit different, and netcode can sometimes cause those to be a little bit more dramatic, shall we say.
Yeah, it could have done. But as I say, in isolation, that was really quite smart defending there. Lyon was looking to try and turn underneath him and get alongside with an exit off of turn 8. But if you keep it really tight and actually quite slow off the corner there, you can almost block his path. And that's what Rodriguez did that time round. Traffic isn't going to help either here, as the 001 gets out the way on the straight. That's Jochen Bakker going a lap down. He's actually the only driver still running who is off the lead lap at the moment. Here he comes. Jesse Lyon down to the inside and towards turn 5. It's pretty late. He wasn't shaping to make the move down the straight, but he does in the braking zone. He forces Rodriguez to give him space, and he will do again. Oh, that's close through turn 6, and they're still side by side.
The trust between these two is immense. Another little nudge to the back from Jesse Lyon, letting him know he is there, and he's going to continue to race him hard. Defensive down into turn 8 from Bryce Rodriguez. He leaves the door open, though, coming down into the carousel. He does not chop across, but now he's off into the marbles. This is late in the race. That is very much the dirty side of the racetrack. And do they dare to go side by side down through the kink? Are they actually going to do this? They come through the corner. He tries his best to hold on. They give enough space, and they're going to make it through. The battle rages on down in the cannon corner.
This is amazing between these two. Great respect shown, and Rodriguez hanging on for dear life on the outside. Finally, Canada corner is going to be the final nail in his coffin, but Bryce Rodriguez put up a valiant effort there, and it's not over. Oh, there's contact! There's contact between the two leaders, and Prescott and Brooks just slipped by. Rodriguez and Lyon have made contact. Exactly what we feared would happen for the championship leader has happened, and he's off into the grass through Bill Mitchell Bend.
This is surely going to be the drop week for Bryce Rodriguez. Even still, top 10 for potentially his worst race of the season so far. But Prescott, consider this. He had to slow up to try and avoid that incident. Kerry Brooks is right behind him. We have gone from one fight to the lead to another.
We have, yeah. Prescott now with a huge opportunity to gain points. He was staring in the face there, a whopping 140-point deficit going into the final 2 rounds, which would have been almost impossible to overturn. Well, you know, not quite, but pretty impossible to overturn when you look at your opponent. Now, all of a sudden, he's got the prospect of gaining 30 points on the day and going into next week with just 40 points of a deficit. Here's the contact. Rodriguez too close to Lyon, and as they're both both unloaded through the left-hander. He just hit the rear end of the pole sitter, and they both go off for a spin. Lyon's able to recover really quickly, and it took Bryce Rodriguez a lot longer. So he's all the way down to 8th place, as you say, taking his drop week. But that doesn't get away from the fact Prescott could knock off nearly half of his championship deficit here in these next 6 minutes.
This is fantastic stuff here to wrap this race up for the pro class here in the Porsche Club of America as we come around through the kink once again. This time we're not going to see that side-by-side action. Prescott ahead of Kerry Brooks. He's pulled away a little bit. It was a lot closer than this into turn 1. So I think Robbie's put the move on at this stage. Will come around, and I think it's going to be 3 laps to go at the line.
I think so. Yeah, 5.5 minutes should indeed be 3 laps. Goodness me, what an end to the race we've got here, and it may not be over just yet either. I mean, looking back now, surely Bryce Rodriguez is going to look back at this and think, what on earth was I doing through this penultimate corner? I mean, this bit's a little bit careless, to be honest. The fact that they're so unloaded there is pretty unlucky, I guess, in a sense. Great avoidance from Prescott and Brooks to slip by as well, by the way. Kerry Brooks there didn't even lift, but he saw all of the smoke in front and just slipped by on the right-hand side. There's so many things to unpick from all that, but if you look back now, Rodriguez had the option many laps ago to just almost quietly let Lyon make his pass for the lead, get in line behind him, finish second again, gain another 20 points and keep your drop week as a second place finish. That has all gone away now, and he might be thinking and wishing he could go back a few minutes and take that option now, because he went all out. He went for the high risk, high reward. Unfortunately, he got all the risk, he's got none of the reward, and Rodriguez is going to end up losing the points.
Prescott hasn't won since the first race of Series 13, but Brooks hasn't even had a win yet in this season. So he's going to want this one, no doubt. Who is going to want it more is the question between the pair of them down through turn 8. Once again, Brooks closes about a tenth since we last looked at this duo. So he's gained a little bit back from about a lap ago as they come out of the carousel, and Brooks, though, struggling with that dirty air 2 wheels off.
This is going to be the problem for Brooks. Unlike Lyon, who, when he was behind Rodriguez, Brooks doesn't look quite as quick or quicker than Prescott to actually make a move here, and you can see that in the way that he's driving in some places. Like there, you could see it through the dirty air, as you were saying, just slightly off into the grass. That wasn't happening to Lyon when he was behind, because he was quick enough to make the move, and he didn't really need to push the limits quite that much. But Brooks is just struggling with that a little bit more at this stage. 2 laps to go. I'm not sure where he's going to make a move here. It's going to have to be a bit of a lunge somewhere.
Speaking of a lunge, Ewing had one, and it failed. He has now got himself back where he was. And critically for Jesse Lyon, his woes get even worse this season. I mentioned he's had some bad results. This is going to be one of them. Black flag for the incident. 115 out of shape, cause of incident with the 24.
Out of shape? I presume that's not the actual eventual spin in the end, is it? That'll be something else beforehand. But yeah, I don't know which bits of the contact that actually was for. As you mentioned, not really a championship contender, so it doesn't really matter because the damage is already done in a way. But it's a third bad result in a row for Jesse Lyon. His confidence is going to be pretty knocked around after these last few weeks.
No doubt about that. Let's continue to watch this battle for the lead. A whole 5.8 seconds over Nicky Chan. They've been running away. Both have definitely turned up the wick and are doing their best to sprint up to that checkered flag. So we check out the battle for 6th place, Wang versus Chan. There on the bottom of your screen as well. There's definitely a number of pairs around this track that are still fighting hard for whatever points they can scrounge up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all you can do at this stage in the race. There's not much time for catching anybody anymore. It's about the battles now. And these battles on your screen primarily, which are the closest ones out on the circuit. Prescott versus Brooks, and Henson, Ewing and Sinclair down there for 9th place further down in the field. So white flag being readied, 1 lap to go. Brooks got quite close through the final corner there. Prescott makes a mistake. This battle for the lead is on with 1 lap to go.
We've seen a number of mistakes out of the 01 over the course of this race. That may be the one that he regrets the most here. Kerry Brooks closing in behind him. Defensive move. Oh, back to the racing line late, though, and he's going to get hit. Off course there for Robbie Prescott, but Kerry Brooks helped him out there. Are we going to get another penalty? And is Nicky Chan going to be the one to come away with this one, who just narrowly avoids an accident with Robbie Prescott and moves up into 2nd place?
Goodness me. This is one of the most dramatic ends to a race in the Porsche Club America Pro Class we've seen for some time. The 2 race leaders, Jesse Lyon and Bryce Rodriguez, make contact. Now Brooks and Prescott make contact. Prescott was pretty brave to move back to the racing line there in time for turn 1, but he must have, did he brake too early or did Brooks brake too late? Either way, Prescott was hit. He now goes wide, and now he is going to lose 20 points provisionally to Rodriguez on the day. That is, if Brooks doesn't get a penalty himself. Is he even going to get a post-race penalty, maybe?
Unbelievable stuff. I mean, there was plenty of time between the move for him to break that little bit earlier, but at the same time, yeah, it was a pretty late move.
And Brooks didn't quite make the apex there, so the fact he went a little bit wide suggests to me that and he's got a black flag. Or is that a graphical error?
No, that's correct.
Oh, it is correct, is it? Wow.
Wow. And, I mean, he has no way to serve it. So this is going to be a time penalty. Nicky Chan has about 8/10 over Robbie Prescott. Absolutely bizarre finish to this race. So, no, Nicky Chan does not have the black flag. I know it says that on the screen. It's Kerry Brooks that has the black flag. He's trying to serve it. You might as well just cross the line, frankly.
Yeah.
Because he's still going to get the time penalty. It is going to be Nicky Chan who takes the win here at Road America in the most unlikely of circumstances. This is just an unbelievable race. Prescott still gets 2nd place. Chris Braun gets promoted up onto the podium after not seeing him for much of this race. I don't even know how to pick this one apart yet.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Chan hasn't even been in the top 5 this season. He's just won a race after running 5th most of the day. Pretty unbelievable, really. 4 different drivers involved in 2 separate 2-car battles for the win, both resulting in contact. And none of those 4 win the race. Unbelievable, really. Chan's first top 5 of the season is a win. And after all of that, Prescott and Rodriguez are as they were in the championship. They are still separated by 70 points as they were at the start of the day. The whole race for those 2 was completely pointless.
Oh, this is one for the ages for the PCA. And Nicky Chan as well, who... You know, you mentioned how many mistakes, and there was perhaps one of the biggest moments of the race right there that allowed Chan to take this win. It was all the drivers in front of Chan that made the mistakes. He just kind of trudged along and kept putting the laps in, and that's what gives him the victory here today, as it looks like we've got our finishing order ready to go, and it was the 000 of Nicky Chan, your winner. Robbie Prescott is 2nd, and Chris Braun. This is, of course, all provisional, unless there's any more penalties being handed out after this. We'll see what happens. Wang finishing 4th, Arthur Chan in 5th, and Bryce Rodriguez in 6th position. Chad Henson P7, Thomas Ewing in 8th, and Joe Sinclair in 9th, with Brett Holmes rounding out your top 10.
11th place is going to go to Leif Peterson, who finishes just inside a half minute with Jesse Lyon, who ends up 12th in the end, which I think he'll be pleased about after having that drive-through let on. Although not overall. Klaus Nielsen finishes 13th, but have Justin Sang and Matthew Jokel rounding out the top 15. Matthew Siddle slowly ghosted his way up to 16th place. Kerry Brooks ending up 17th with that post-race time penalty, which you're right, by the way, should have stayed out and just crossed the line anyway. Lenny Holland, Rodney Campbell, and Michael Patterson round out the top 20.
Kevin Jokel was 21st in the end, with Rich Del Mazio 22nd, Fernando Torres P23, followed by David Fernandez in 24th. Chad Sosnowski finishes on the lead lap in 25th. Jochen Baker a lap down in 26th, and then Sutton, Zerbes, and Finch were all DNFs today, but surprisingly few considering the dramatic moments we had out there on track, but none more dramatic than Nicky Chan having his win, and perhaps the most unlikely of manners that I think anybody could have expected. Nicky, congratulations. I mean, has it sunk in yet? We're still kind of agog at what happened.
Yeah, it was, I certainly didn't want to win a race like this, with so many guys up front being out, but you know, I'll take it. It's what I can get.
Well, you know, we said a little bit earlier on that a lot of drivers up at the front can't afford to make mistakes. In the pro class, you have to keep it clean. And that's what you did, and that's what brought you to the finish line before anybody else. I mean, is that something that you pride yourself on, of trying to just keep it on the track, even if you can't be quickest?
I just do the pace I can. I mean, I feel like there are very few people in the class that are my pace. Everybody seems to be quicker or a tiny bit slower. So I often run races alone for, 50, 55 minutes. And, it's I guess, part lucky.
My dad always said I'd rather be lucky than good, and sometimes it does come in handy. Interestingly, this is also your first podium of the season, so setting high expectations. Can you get any more champagne in the remaining couple rounds?
Certainly going to try. It's my first podium this season and my first win in pro, I think, ever. So, it's definitely very different. So, as you can tell by my excitement. So.
Well, anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
I definitely want to thank Princess Cruises for making this series happen, and PCA for putting it together. Certainly my wife and, my teammates, Chris and Carrie, who's been so supportive, and, it really shows in our performance. And last but not least, definitely the students that have been really kind of entrusting me with helping them. So really thank everybody.
Nicky Chan taking his first pro win here in PCA. Let's also talk to the man who will wind up exactly how he was at the start of the race, points-wise. The championship leader, Robbie Prescott, has caught up with Ewan O'Leary.
Absolutely. Robbie, welcoming and congratulations. Somebody just dragged me about. I don't know who that was. It wasn't me. Anyway, sorry. Robbie, congratulations on finishing second place. Tell us how you're feeling after that one, because it was a roller coaster of emotions, I'm sure. What are your first thoughts?
Oh, man, that was, hopefully you guys thought that was awesome. That was quite the, I think that was the most insane race we've had all season so far. I definitely would say mixed emotions, mad but grateful. Luckily, we had a big enough gap where I can get back on track and still finish second. But to carry, it's all right. That's just racing. Stuff happens at the end there, but because I still got second, I can't be too mad at him. Stuff happens, so I'm just happy to walk away with a podium.
What were your thoughts as that incident actually unfolded? Because we saw it initially and thought it probably was on Kerry. You don't seem to be you don't seem, to me anyway, to feel very aggrieved about it though.
I'm just trying to stay calm. I got second, so I mean that's it. But I thought I was going to the wall. I couldn't get it slowed down, and luckily I got it stopped right before the wall. But I do have my conspiracies, because I was surrounded by a lot of last 10th racers, and Nicky Chan is their ringleader, team owner. So I'm gonna little conspiracy theory here. But no, all jokes aside, I'm smiling. Carrie, it's all good. No hate. I still walked away with a fun little podium here. So got to keep on pushing and keep getting the podiums for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and just quickly on the championship situation. no change between yourself and Bryce Rodriguez in a very weird day, but he does have a much worse drop week now, and that does mean you've got some more chances to gain some points. What do you feel about that going into the final 2 rounds?
Yeah, Bryce is still the man to beat. He's legit. Unfortunately, him and Jesse went side by side through that corner. Such a tough corner to pass through. But I know this is his drop race, and I bet you this fired him up even more. So I'll be excited to see how the last 2 races go, and I know he doesn't give up with the fight. So off to the last 2 races and see what happens.
We certainly will. Congratulations on finishing second tonight, Robbie, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you. Shout out to the Solpec team and all my friends watching back home.
Thanks very much. Robbie Prescott there, second place here tonight in the race and retains second place in the championship as well. Chris Brown is in third place. Rosali, Joe, and you can chat to him now as well.
Indeed, Chris, I have to confess, we really didn't show a whole lot of you because there was so much happening up at the front, especially at the end of this race. So tell us a little bit about what brought you to this third position.
Yeah, I think I was just in a good space. I qualified 6th, right behind Nikki and Carrie, so that allowed me to kind of take it easy during the race and settle into a pocket. And I knew I didn't really have the pace to keep up with Rodriguez and Lyon, so I just took it easy. I will say it was a little bit of a struggle for me. It didn't feel like it did during practice. I was struggling with understeer, so it was hard to keep pace. But I was lucky enough to keep within the distance I needed, and yeah, I lucked out and got a podium, so I feel good about it.
You got to take what you can get, without a doubt. This track, with it being so wide open, we kind of discussed the open setup of the pro class. Did you try and trim it out as much as possible, or did you leave any wing in it?
No, I didn't. I think I was a fairly medium wing. I set it up to really for the carousel, and then make sure that I had a little bit of room through the kink, and that's quite the balance because you really need the car to steer into the carousel, and then you also need a little bit of rear stability to keep it through the kink. So it was a little bit of a trick, but I thought I had a really good setup. I think that was part of the reason why I was able to run up front. But yeah, it's a tricky track, and everybody's super competitive here, so you have to be quick.
Well, how are you with the high downforce? Because you're going to need it next time when we go to the Hungaro ring.
Oh, it's going to be fun. I haven't raced there much, so it's going to be fun setting it up and practicing there. And I'm looking forward to being hopefully as competitive as I was this week.
Oh, we look forward to seeing if you wind up with another podium. And again, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Joe.
So a few befuddled members of our podium here today, and maybe just as confused as we are. I'll have to almost go back and rewatch this one to really try and parse what all we just witnessed. But as we mentioned, we are coming back for another race at a very different circuit that is much more twisty at the Hungaro Ring on March 19th. As you see what befell our drivers this week, this is what will befall them next time out, as they will head across the ponds all the way over to the land of Hungary for this fantastic Grand Prix track. We're not done with Road America, though. We've got the club class coming tomorrow night, March 6th, and we'll be staying at the National Park of Speed for that one. But a big thank you will go to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, as well as to our team tonight, Ramiro and Ewan. Also, thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.